The content presented is for entertainment purposes only. Some content may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Okay, I can now see the audio working. Yay!
You know what's funny is when you said that, I just got a text on my phone that started, "Yay!" exclamation point.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was kind of weird. Right as you were like, "Yay!" my phone pops up with a text message. Yay!
Your dog is like trying to give me a hug right now.
That's okay.
Anyways, hey.
So we're live now, right?
Hey.
That's okay. Yay, audio works. Awesome.
Hey.
Well, okay. Well, hello. J Rhymes here. Periodic Review. Welcome to the show. We've now started 2 different times now. This is the 3rd time. So now
we are on a roll.
We are on it.
It might
This is going to be the best intro ever because we've practiced it.
Hey, so like, you remember when? Not remember when. You know when someone puts on the toilet paper the wrong way?
Well,
that's the roll that we were on.
But
So now
it's the right way if you have cats. It's my buddy. Our buddy Jacob has told us this.
That actually is true. I can agree with that. But I don't have cats myself, but I mean I've lived with people that have had cats, and
What are you doing?
I don't know anymore.
Jacob is a little flustered, and it's okay.
I'm not very happy because I don't like restarting and stopping and restarting and stopping and restarting again.
Yeah,
it's really annoying, and it bugs me because I am a snob when it comes to being prepared, and I wasn't both times. So 3rd time's a charm.
Yeah.
But at least the audio's up. We're live. We have audio. Everything should be good now. So
do we want to repeat what we all just said, or do we want to just like?
No, we could just jump right into it.
I was
honestly,
gonna say we might just want to get into the conversation.
Yeah, we're now 30 minutes behind than what we're usually.
We can do a summary. Alakai went to the gym because he's branching out and doing things that make him uncomfortable, and we're proud of him.
Yeah.
And he got another wrinkle in his brain from learning something new at work.
Rianne's working on a Zen backyard makeover.
Yes.
Yep. That's what we're doing.
And Jacob's being a boss at making it happen.
Yes.
Yes.
Which means he's being extremely patient as I try and figure crap out and don't communicate very clearly what I'm thinking.
Dude, when you working on projects with one person or even just in a group in general is hard because it's kind of hard to communicate what it is that you want. And I'm also the kind of person that's just like, when it's not done how I want it, then I'm like, all right, stop. And then I just jump in and I just start doing it on my own.
Yeah.
So,
well, part of that is just making sure that you have the ability to express yourself and tell people exactly how you want it done instead of just the outcome.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a way that you feel like is going to be the best way to do it. You got to explain how you're going to do it.
Yeah. Especially
instead of just saying, this is what I want, just do it.
Yeah. Because they're not going to know exactly what it is that you want. And who knows, maybe they have an idea that's like way cooler. And you're like, oh, I didn't see that before. But like,
yeah,
I like that. So
Jacob yells at me when
I
we do stuff.
Not. I do get frustrated when I start. I do get frustrated when Rianne explains what she wants done. Then I start doing it, but she doesn't like the way and how I'm doing it. Then tries to explain to me how I'm doing it when all she really cares about is the outcome.
That's not true. That's
are we
not
turning
true.
this into a marriage counseling thing? And I'm just sitting here.
No,
we're not. But it's going to be really cool once the Oasis thing is done. We'll
have a backyard barbecue, and you can come over and chill.
We'll have hammocks.
Sweet.
Yeah,
We
and our
got-
little fire pit.
Yeah,
Dude, my
Yep.
Awesome.
my parents in Laverne can actually kind of did that with their backyard. My dad built a yoga deck. Really, really cool.
That's
Yoga
awesome.
And
deck.
he's got like some plants that they're putting around it. And
We can
That's
do
cool.
that, Jacob. We can
Dude.
incorporate that.
So for his birthday, I made him a homemade Wilson from. You guys ever see Castaway?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I got a volleyball and I turned it into a Wilson from Castaway.
That's awesome.
Because one of the movies that we really liked when I was growing up was Castaway. So I was like, let's just give this like a throwback or something. And I kind of hope he puts it near his yoga deck. I wanted to do that, like just put it on a stick in his backyard. And I was like, this is his Zen place. I don't want to mess it up. So
That's funny.
But-
I love that.
I like it.
Okay.
yeah. Anyways.
Hey, Mr. Dalton, welcome back.
Hi, Dalton.
So, dude.
Glad to have you. Sorry for the false start 3 different times.
How awkward is that?
It's very awkward.
This time, the third time isn't a false start. It's a real one.
It's the real one, guys. This is the real one. And it just sucks that we were 10 minutes into it and I realized, oh, we don't have the right line selected. Awesome. But anyways, we will discontinue our upstate. How late are you? You're not late at all.
I arrive on Hawaii time.
I messed up the cameras and then I messed up the audio, so we fault started a couple of times, but now we are up and running. So we just did a quick rundown and updates on what we're working on. I just quit caffeine. Rianne and I have been working on an outside oasis, and Mr. Alakai has gotten to the gym. So now you're caught up.
So it's fun. I'm gonna mention your name, Dalton. I was just watching Insidious this week. I was showing it to a friend who likes to watch movies with me, and one of the main characters in that movie is Dalton. So now whenever I hear that name, I'm like,
Love it. I love it.
wait.
I was watching this movie with a friend that likes to watch movies with me.
Nah,
It
shut
was
up.
very vague. Now I'm gonna be like, so is this friend? But I will wait till after the podcast to do my interrogation.
Oh my goodness, you don't need to interrogate our friend.
I know.
You don't need to interrogate our friend.
Okay. So
Oh, snap. And
Anyways, it just made me think of the movie.
that is a good movie.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, Dalton, but
interesting.
It's creepy.
it is creepy.
My chat box
Hence the name
doesn't
Insidious.
seem to be working. Oh well, we'll just dill for right now. Anyways, this episode is brought to you by viewers like you, so thank you.
Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, listen to us on Spotify.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to try to stream every Monday. We will be off any major holidays. And if you miss us, it might be because we had other stuff we had to attend to. You can send all your topic ideas to theperiodicreview@gmail.com. Hopefully we will earn your subscription today, so don't forget to hit that red subscribe button. Click that. I'm walking over my burp.
What?
Click that damn bell. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss a content release. But the best way to support the channel is to share this live stream with family and friends. Crush that like button and leave us a comment down below. So welcome to the Periodic Review. Today we're gonna even starting the third time. I don't know. It's just we're back after a few weeks.
We're
and
still
so
getting
we're
into
getting
the
into the
mojo.
groove.
We're talking about babies.
Talking about Roe
Well,
versus Wade.
Kind of.
Talking about abortion and kind of where the whole overturning and stuff has been as of late. It's been a very, very interesting month, honestly, to kind of follow some of these things. So we're just gonna jump right into it, and obviously, you guys leave us your comments and questions down below, and we'll obviously address them along the way.
Should probably also just say, like, if you have any thoughts or opinions that, like, don't really you don't agree with anything that's being talked about or said, that's cool. Please at least be respectful, be kind. We're not here to, like...
Yeah, we're not going to do name calling and...
We're lovers, we're not fighters. We're trying to, like, talk about serious topics and, like, actually, like, throw out opinions and just kind of educate people and all that. So, I mean, like...
Yeah, amen.
Be nice and share your thoughts and opinions, but please be respectful.
Yeah, we're all about discussion. We're all about compare and contrast. We're not here to prove or to disprove or we're just commentators. We just think these topics are interesting. We just want to... I don't agree with your face. You stop it, Dalton. Yeah, my chat box is not working, and that makes me sad.
Oh,
I don't know why it's not working, but
well,
it seems that everything's not working today. So.
Do you want to start a fourth time?
No.
I will be like, y'all have to start without me because I'm done. I'm done.
I'd probably be like, all right, I'm going to go to sleep now. But, okay, so Roe versus Wade, what's the deal? It looks like you have it pulled up on your interweb there.
What's the dealio?
Okay, so let's
So hit it,
let's
Rianne.
rewind.
Go ahead.
Okay. So if anybody's really interested in diving in and figuring out the whole Roe versus Wade thing, somebody should actually look up an interview that Jane Roe gave after the whole thing was passed back in 1980.
72
or 72, 70, yeah, whatever. But I think the interview, I can't remember when she gave the interview. It was like in 80
the interview, sorry.
Yeah, so she talked about how she regretted being a part of it.
What was her stance on it? I'm not super educated.
She actually became a huge pro-life activist after.
Okay.
Really?
She
she
did.
was.
Mm-hmm.
So even after the lawsuit and everything that she went through and got it passed through Supreme Court.
Right. So here's the thing. There is nothing. So the Supreme Court is okay. People are like, this is a threat to the democracy, blah, blah, blah. Okay. First of all, we are a democratic republic.
Yes.
Okay. So we are not a democracy. People need to understand that. And our Constitution makes it very specific. Like the Supreme Court is designed to ensure that the laws fall within the Constitution. The Constitution is what makes us separate and different from everybody else.
Yes.
So when they passed Roe versus Wade, it basically said you have a right to abortion. There was no right written into the Constitution for abortion, to kill the baby. So the whole point of them overturning Roe versus Wade was to give that power back to the states, because that needs to be decided on a smaller local level.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because the whole decision was basically overstepping. The federal government overstepped, it was overstepping, and so that is being given back to the states to view. So this is where, like, if you have an issue with your state laws or what the laws are surrounding that particular practice, you have more accessibility to your lawmakers and everything. You have more accessibility to vote, all this sort of stuff. They turned it over to the states. One of the biggest arguments is like, well, you have states that ban it outright and make it a criminal practice and all this stuff. So women who are going to die because of this, because they're going to be forced to be pregnant because of ectopic pregnancies and all that sort of stuff. And this is like a huge talking point. And it's kind of mute because pretty much every state views ectopic pregnancies or pregnancies that threaten the life of the mother and everything. There's all these clauses that are usually written within the state laws around abortion that have clauses for dangerous pregnancies and rape and incest and all that sort of stuff, even like underage.
But even then, the vast majority are not within those extremist boundaries.
Right. Well, and so
those extreme boundaries, excuse me.
Here's the problem, though, because Roe versus Wade was set to be like rare. It was meant to be like abortions are legal in instances of like they were supposed to be rare and safe, right? It was supposed to create a way for women to have a procedure done on a rare occasion, and so it would be safe, so women wouldn't be in the back alleys giving themselves abortions with coat hangers, which is another huge thing. They're like, women aren't allowed to do it, blah, blah, blah. That's not true. Procedures are safe. Like,
well, as safe as they can be. They're not without their risks.
Right, but here's the problem. Like when it's an ectopic pregnancy or when you have to have a DNC after a miscarriage or something,
right?
If the baby is no longer viable, then you can have an abortion. And that happens for a lot of women, and that's sad and it's hard and it's heart-wrenching. But that particular type of procedure is not outlawed in any other state. Like the states, even states who are extremely conservative have ability to, or have the clauses in
have
there.
Emergencies. Yeah.
Right. So what's really bothersome to me is, the fact that there's a side that is fighting so hard for women to have the right to kill a child. Like they are fighting, like even Elizabeth Warren the other day said there are more pregnancy care centers than Planned Parenthood centers, and we have to stop that. Now, pregnancy centers are designed
more abortion centers than, what did you say?
No, pregnancy care centers than Planned Parenthood or abortion centers.
Sorry, I misheard you.
She saw that as a problem, which, because another argument that the left side makes is like, well, these babies being born into poverty are bad, and like they're going to live a horrible life, and they're not going to have a chance to do things, and blah, blah, blah. And they're saying all these things. So it's like, okay, so you're just determining that because you can't guarantee that this child will have a good life, that they don't deserve to be born at all, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how is that fair? Because there are people who were born into poverty, but like, and horrible circumstances, but grew up and like made immeasurable contributions to the world through various aspects, like through inventions, through leadership, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? So just because you grow up in a certain status, especially even in America, America is where you have the ability to, well, if there wasn't so much freaking corruption from anyway, it's a big, huge thing. But then you look at kids who are in the foster, they're like, well, these babies will end up in the foster care system and all that stuff. And I'm like, well, then you're sending the message to all these kids that are in the foster care system that they're better off dead rather than being alive. How awful is that?
That is awesome.
How awful of a message is that for those kids?
Because I never even thought about that. I mean, I definitely did think about the whole foster care issue, but I never thought about it in that. I never even. Whoa.
Yeah, Jacob. Anyway, so that's an issue that I have a problem with in that argument, because that's literally sending a message to how many people that their life is worth nothing and they're better off dead. They would have been better off dead or not born. And I'm just like, that is awful. Heavy. That is awful. Because they already struggle with so much going in. And to say that. And the thing is like these pregnancy care centers, they're a center to like help moms who are struggling or whatever. Like who don't feel like it's the right time and everything. And they basically say, okay, here's your options. You can abort, like there is that option. You also have the option of adoption, and here's what the process is. And they literally go through and give them all the information on what it's like to go through the procedure, to know what the process would be for adoption or whatever that is. And then they say, okay, then there's a 3-day waiting period before they come back, or before they're signed off to have the procedure. And they also do an ultrasound with these mothers so that they can know what's in, and like they do an ultrasound so that they can make a fully educated decision. That's what pregnancy centers are designed to do. And they're designed to help make that connection from a mother who is struggling and doesn't want the baby to a family who, like us, would love to have a baby, right? And have not been able to. And the fact that they're fighting so hard to not have these type of pregnancy centers around, but they're still saying, you know, you guys care about it until the baby's born and then you just throw it into a system and blah, blah, blah. Like, they're so contradictory. And it bothers me because it feels like the argument is so heavy towards death. And they focus so much on death and the, like, unwanted pregnancy. And like there's arguments where it's, the baby is referred to as a parasite or a fetus rather than a baby.
So Dalton commented that the left is fighting for you to pay for their ability to kill their baby.
Yeah, and I have an issue with that.
Well, and
I think our nation, like, when we're advocating for death and paying for the elimination of potential life, we're in a very dark place mentally and emotionally as a society, as a country. You know what I mean? And so that's what I struggle with. Now, granted, I am a woman. I do believe that nobody should have a say on what I should do with my body. But the minute I have a child, it is not just me. It is another entity. It is another being.
It's an in-body submarine. When you go swimming. Sorry, I had to make it a little light there.
So, yes, but the choice was already made. Like, my body, my choice. Well, the choice was made when I chose to have unprotected. Like, if I'm talking about choice, yes, there was a choice made when you had sex. There was a choice when you made, when you had that decision. Now, granted, there are women that don't always have a choice in who they are sleeping with, and that's the case of rape or incest. And I agree that if the woman chooses not to do it, then because there is a lot of emotional baggage that goes along with it, but within reason. And the fact that the other side has, I get so frustrated when I see videos of women saying, oh, this is my 6th abortion and blah, blah, blah. It's no longer rare. Abortion has become a form of birth control, and that's not okay because you're beyond the point of birth control at that point. You've already made your choice. The life is created, and I'm being very opinionated. I'm just going all on. So, but this is my perspective, and this is what I feel like. I don't know. I feel like I have a right to it because
it's a very valid belief, and you have some really good points.
I feel like you did have a choice. You already made the choice. This is the natural consequence of your choice. And there are options. And the thing that also bothers me is Planned Parenthood is how many girls have been brought in that have been underage or have been brought in by their perpetrator and forced to have an abortion. Mm-hmm. And it was never reported by Planned Parenthood to authorities that an underage girl was being essentially raped. Mm-hmm. Or, you know what I mean? Like, how many, I'd like to see the stats on that. Like, how many times has Planned Parenthood done mandatory reporting? Or have they just gone through and done, because there's big money in it.
Yeah.
There is big money in it.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, I've already talked about this a little bit with you guys in the past. But I didn't have didn't have full on sex until I was in my mid-20s. So I was a virgin for quite a while, and that's seems to be not a commonplace when it comes to, kids nowadays, because we're so exposed to so much sex nowadays that, kids are having sex.
Don't even get me started.
Way too young, in my opinion. But even though nature says, "Oh, your bodies are ready," your brains are definitely not. But it, like you were saying, Rianne, like it all comes down to it. In the beginning, it's all about the choice of, well, am I going to have sex with this person? And am I ready for the ramifications and the consequences that come after it?
But I also need to be very clear. There's a lot of youth and kids that are in human trafficking situations that are taken to Planned Parenthood. And because if a girl is pregnant, she's not valuable to her trafficker anymore. So she's taken and forced to have an abortion. Like, is that reported? No. And like people have made the comments like, how many Republican senators or Republican politicians have taken their mistresses to get abortions? Exactly. That's an issue.
Yeah, it definitely is. Sure.
It doesn't matter like what side you like. I think it's bull crap on the conservative side, and I think that there's evil people who are conservatives who've done this. Anyway, but is what I'm saying is like it's not always a choice on a woman's part sometimes, and like for instance, I work in domestic violence, right? So one of the ways the perpetrator...
You work with survivors of...
Well, I don't work directly with them. I work with an organization that serves survivors.
Just clarify. It kind of sounded like you were...
Yeah, sorry.
Organization that...
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
That serves survivors. And like, for example, like there's survivors that we're helping that like the way that their perpetrators keep them tied in is constantly getting them pregnant. Mm-hmm. And that's how they keep
them in the relationship and keep them in control.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And so like that's hard. That's hard to be in the situation, in a domestic violence situation, in a very toxic relationship with a person, and you're sharing like they're impregnating you, and it's like, what do you do? Because to support children is hard, and so
it's expensive. It's not cheap.
It's expensive to have kids and everything.
I get it. So choose not to do it.
And so like it's hard for women to be like, that's a method of keeping women trapped in certain relationships. So I am very sympathetic to that. And I understand those situations are very, 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 very hard. But also in those instances, I would consider that a form of rape as well. So, but like, there's no such thing as black and white. And it does impact women. So like, it's not just like, well, my body, my choice. Well, you had the choice when you had sex with him. Well, sometimes women don't always have the choice, especially if they're in a toxic relationship. And it's either I have sex with him or I get the shit beat out of me. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it's not always black and white. And I get that and I understand that. But at the same time, to push it as a society, as just to see our culture fight so hard to push it for everybody, and where it has become a form of birth control rather than rare, and in specific cases of rape or incest. And it's like, when it's like, I really struggle with that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like there's no black or white, but I am not one of those women that are super upset over the Roe v. Wade overturn. I think it's back where it needs to be, and it gives us an opportunity as women to really make our voices heard rather than just blanket.
Yeah. Well, some of the arguments that we coming from the left side of the aisle, obviously is the my body, my choice. So whatever's going on with it and whatever's inside of it, I can make the decision whether, you believe it's life or not. But one of the other arguments is like, okay, well, at what point in the process of the development of, the egg and sperm, being fertilized, and then the cells dividing, and then, getting to the different portions of the different weeks that the fetus of the child is, progressing. At what point does it go from being a human being to not being a human being? Because if it's left to its own natural devices, it will develop into a human being. Just saying that it's just a zygote, or all this other terminology that kind of gets away from the human portion of human biology, it kind of begs the question, okay, well, then where do you see it at? And it's one of those arguments I think is really interesting, especially watching some of the Louder with Crowder Change My Mind stuff. And it's very difficult once they see
that's a good way to polarize people.
Well,
Crowder is one of the most polarizing.
Yes, I agree. But that's one of the arguments where it's like, okay, well, then where on the spectrum of the development of this unborn child that's developing, at what point is it a viable option for that? And I think it's really interesting is that we live in a world today where we have great technology, which allows children that are born too early in their development and have the ability to for them to survive very, very early on. And I think it's as early as 22 weeks that if a child is born, 22 weeks, into their development, that they can actually survive and, be in an incubator, and those children are born, they survive and they thrive, which is really awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, anyway, I don't want to go too far. And I feel like I've talked
I agree,
a lot,
Dalton. Viability is a poor standard because it's very vague. I agree.
And I'm one of those life begins at conception type of people.
Well, and I think that's, according to the stuff that I've looked up, according to biologists, the life begins at conception. So as soon as that egg is fertilized by the sperm, it is alive. It is life. Like as soon as those cells start dividing, then it is life within. And I think a lot of people, especially those with religious belief, believe that there's an inherent divine divinity within. Yeah, there's the divine that comes with human beings, and being somebody who does believe in God, even though I struggle with the fact that I can't prove or disprove the existence of one. I like to believe that we do have some kind of, divine nature within us. But, even if we don't want to go that route, I believe that nature is very self-evident. So I believe once those cells start to divide, what's the heartbeat? Like how many weeks is it? And then the human fetus is at a heartbeat.
I think 12 weeks is a heartbeat. I don't know.
Because I remember there was a law.
Is my mic? Oh, okay.
Yeah, your mic's up.
I was like, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear it for a minute. So, okay.
So the heart begins to beat at the 5th week. The heart begins to beat, and it may be possible to detect it using vaginal ultrasound.
Well, and here's the thing. Most people... I think this is the other thing. Most people feel like there needs to be, within reason. I think even the moderate perception is, yes, there is, you have a window, right? I think, most people agree that 12 to 14 weeks. And even, in Europe and all these, super evolved countries or, liberal countries, they have a limit of 12 weeks, right? France is 12 to 14 weeks is kind of the standard.
Yeah.
But we have freaking states like California that are trying to, that have passed laws that are abortion is legal up to 28 weeks post-birth.
And I think there are some very radical believing people who are trying to pass stuff even up to like the first 9 months or even a year after the child is born.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, even
that's
post-birth,
scary,
abortion is like, it's a decision between the physician and the mother to end the life of this child. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well,
like,
they don't
and
even
I think
say the end of life of the child. They use different verbiage to kind of
because they don't want to humanize it. Yeah.
No, they don't, because they want to be able to do it. So the less, consistent they can be with using verbiage that, attaches humanity to, these unborn children, the fetus, the zygote, the embryo, the more they can do that, the more they can detach themselves away from it. And it was really sad. Rianne and I, we watched a documentary on the Daily Wire, and it followed some individuals who have had, talks with their physicians, and had abortions because of how they explained it to them. And this particular, you remember what I'm talking about, Rianne?
Uh-huh.
So this physician told this lady that, it's just a clump of cells. And when she later realized that the child was much farther along as far as like its development and had a heartbeat and everything.
Oh, no, the doctor. Yeah. So the doctor was like, she came in and said she was only like 12 weeks along. And then he went in to abort the baby, and the baby actually grabbed his finger.
No, that was a different one, but the one I'm talking about is that he said one thing, and then when she did her own research, she found that it was much farther along. As far as like, he just said, it was just a clump of cells, and it was like 14 or 16 weeks. And, at that point, the child had developed, the heart and the brainstem, all the organs, hands and feet were developing. And it was, and listening to those different doctors who definitely changed their mind after doing many procedures and then, going back on their decision to continue to assist people with it, was very striking, honestly. And it's really interesting seeing, the different sides of what's going on with this.
Well, now I'm curious, Aleki, what is your perspective? Because we've been talking
like, I don't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole.
And I'm curious, like, we're just sitting here chatting, and I want Aleki to have a chance to.
So you guys know pretty well that when it comes to controversial stuff, I tend to like take a back seat in the podcast. Okay, I'm going to be honest. I'm not super educated in a lot of history. I'm more educated in stuff that happened in like 400 BC than stuff that happened back in the 70s. So I'm not super educated. And when this whole thing came out, my first thought was, great, something else that can divide America even more than it already is.
Well, and that's the other thing. I think it's being utilized to, anyway. I think it's being utilized to do political theater, to divide America even more. So, because it is election, we have midterm elections, and so I agree with you on that.
So get out and vote, you locals.
So, and that's the thing is like, America was so successful in its revolution because the people were fighting on a united front. And now it's like we're literally living what Abraham Lincoln himself said that it couldn't happen. And we're a house that's divided. And what happens to a house that's divided?
Yeah.
So
it falls.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that was my first thought when this whole thing came out. Was like, oh, cool. And honestly, I did not give a shit because it was like, that's literally what's happening. Like, I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, this country is becoming. I'm now more than ever, I am convinced that this is a country that was not built to stand, that it was not built to last. So
like the Roman Empire, like, all these other
but here's the thing. Like, I think it was meant to stand, and I think it will. I just think it's going to go through a lot.
Okay.
Like, it's got to go through a lot.
So,
and the only reason why it won't
the
stand
forging fires
is if we allow ourselves to be governed by outside, like World Economic Forum, like all of these big one world government, all this crap. There is definitely we're under attack in a barrage of like join this one world government, all this stuff. And like, there are some benefits, but there are some very scary things that come along with that as well. And I feel like all of this is a distraction to keep us distracted from what really could happen.
Okay, we're getting into a whole nother podcast.
And I need to be quiet. But yes.
I'm going to come back a little bit here. So, and the thing is, like, so Rhiannon, you also brought up a lot of really good points that I never even thought about to begin with. And I kind of feel like the more that I participate in a lot of conversations about it, the more that I'm learning.
Well, that's good.
At first it was like, okay, yeah, I really don't give a shit. 'Cause in my head I was like, well, I'm a dude. So it's like, what right do I have to a thought or an opinion on this? And then I started talking to some of the women in my life that mean a lot to me, and some people that are very close to me. And it was like, okay, maybe I am starting to get some thoughts on this. So, like, where I stand currently is, like, honestly, not any, but most subjects and topics that are in a gray area. This is not a black and white topic,
right?
And any area or topic that is not just black and white, to me in my head, mostly every time, it's like it should be legal. So right now where I stand is on a pro-choice area, because in my head I'm kind of like, well, if it was my body, if I was actually able to pull this off, I'll never understand. So, but
you're not part of the birthing people?
No, I haven't even started my first period.
Oh,
so.
Dang it! You know,
I've
been hoping that at some point I would. Sorry,
I've heard it's awful though.
Okay, I can understand that. Like, I am very much pro-choice, but choices are always made. It's just a matter of when.
Right, and
it sucks that saying like pro-choice or pro-life puts you on one side of the fence or the other, and it's like
you guys know me. You know I'm not like I'll stand 100% right. I'll stand 100% left. You know that I'm not.
You're all about the issues and like the circumstances. Like that's what you're worried about, not just like
it's
being on
more
one side or the other. In
my head, it's like, yeah, there is when the choice is made, but like I don't.
But in the situation where like a woman is forced, right? Like that's a hard.
Well, yeah, but. In my head, the whole idea is like you're taking away an ability to choose. I know there's the matter of like it, like when.
What's being removed from the ability to choose?
What?
You said that the ability to choose was taken away.
So, but that's what one side is propagating right now, is that the reversal of Roe versus Wade takes away women's right to choose, and it really doesn't.
No, it just basically
gives the power back to the states.
Yeah, and there's actually many states who continue to be pro-choice or pro-life. Like they're, like we were talking earlier, they have the ability to go to different states if they need to get, if that's what they choose to do. And, I'm one of those people where I believe in following the laws of the land. And so if there's a state, that's choosing to allow abortions, I'm not going to say burn the state down, but.
Because that's what the population has. That is what the society has voted for. Right. So California's abortion laws, like they still give the right to choose.
Okay. So then here's my next thought is, since we're moving forward with making it illegal, giving the choice back, then to the states, I mean.
Yeah.
So if we're going to give the choice back to the states, then what we need to do then is start putting more funding towards those adoption programs. Because
I 100% agree.
Because I agree.
With that, I've seen, as someone that's had the chance to work with kids in adoption from the ages of like 7 to 18, and now like I still keep in contact with a few that are now in their 20s. Like I've seen some parents that do a phenomenal job with their kids. I have also seen some foster parents that do such a shit job. I do not know who gave them the power to, like,
right,
to have that.
Well,
title
and
of
here's
parent.
the thing. That's my argument as well. Like, if the left is so concerned about these children, like, being in impoverished and horrible situations, why aren't they fighting more to get more funding for those type of programs, supportive programs for parents? Or like, especially in poverty and stuff, like that's where I'm like, why aren't you fighting more for that rather than just fighting for and how much funding is going to Planned Parenthood to
a lot
kill these babies? So
that's the thing now. Like if those places are no longer getting any funding, well, you have another place to put that funding. Mm-hmm. Like give it to the kids that really they didn't have a chance to have birth parents to raise them, and give those kids funding for parents that will. Right. Those kids deserve that shit. Like,
I agree.
So, I mean,
I agree with that. And that's been my biggest thing is like, why aren't we fighting more to have more support go towards parents in poverty and to have like parenting education happen and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the founder of freaking Planned Parenthood was, the whole reason why Planned Parenthood was started was to go into poor neighborhoods, predominantly black, and basically kill the population before it even expands. Margaret Sanger, she was a freaking Nazi sympathizer.
Yeah.
Look up the history of Planned Parenthood.
It's striking, Alakai, once you look it up.
If people really looked it up and looked up what they were fighting for, I think it would scare a lot of people.
And honestly, I want to save as many black American babies and, Latino American babies, like every baby
I want to save value.
Absolutely.
And they're saying this Roe versus Wade is going to impact the poor communities. Well, why is it going to impact the poor communities? Because they're going to be forced to have babies. Really? Well, if they have the babies,
forcing them? They already chose to do so. So,
but if they have babies, then
how's that?
Then let's figure out how to fund them and give them support in having babies, or give them support in adoptive parents. Like, how about supporting parents like Jacob and I? We would love to be parents. But do you know how much it costs to go through the adoption process?
Too much.
The legal process, all that stuff. That's not something that we can just throw tons of money at. We couldn't throw tons of money at IVF and like fertility treatments and stuff. But do you think I would for sure be jumping on, like, I would love to know how to access
average cost $70,000 for an adoption in America.
Like, I would love.
That's a really nice car.
Why aren't we fighting more for that?
Well, and I think
what I mean?
I think it all comes down to, what are we teaching children? Like, I don't know if you guys remember sex education when you were a kid. I remember sex education when I was a kid, and it felt like they were teaching me how to have sex, how babies are made, so I can go out and do that, and then go, oh, but if you wear this rubber thing, there is a chance you might not get somebody pregnant.
I grew up in Utah, and that was an abstinence only.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Arizona. They didn't really teach that. And I think it's important, and it sucks that if you talk about, abstinence, they immediately go, oh, religious extremist. And I don't like that. Because I think you need to teach, if you're going to teach people about sex, you should teach them all of the choices that you can make. You can just choose not to have sex. You know, I did for many, many years.
I think we need to...
I'm not saying it was great. It was difficult, but...
Like, I think it's important to teach the mechanics of sex to kids because they don't always get that at home because parents are too embarrassed. But
True.
talking about the mechanics is different than teaching them the variety of ways that they can pleasure themselves and blah, blah, blah. But
at
then
the appropriate age.
But they
yes.
also need to understand, and I think it needs to be focused on, here are the actual consequences that can happen and the ripple effect that it will have. Because I don't think that part is always focused on. You know what I mean? Like, if you, like, here's a baby. Now, in today's world, this is how having a baby affects you, right? And this is the cost, and this is all this stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna be quiet. I'm too noisy. And Alakai, we cut you off again. I'm sorry.
Did we? I apologize. Did you have another thought, Alakai? I'm sorry.
I kind of forgot what I was.
I'm sorry. When it comes to you, please say so. We have very strong opinions when it comes to this subject.
But like, yeah, it's not a black and white topic. I've got people outside of this podcast that mean a lot to me that are like very much like on the side of pro-choice and have very valid opinions and very valid arguments.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what are some of those?
And then I have people here that are I have you guys
right
that
are on the more pro-life side. Yeah.
Are both more on the pro-life side. Yeah. And I feel like everywhere I see, everywhere I look now, it's just everyone's like pro-choice.
Yeah.
Just like, that's great. What happened to America's United Front? Also, like, I just don't think it's a topic that we're ever going to be united on. So in that case, like, I can see how like giving the choice back to the states makes sense.
Yeah. Because some people in some states are going to choose differently. Yeah. And that's okay.
I also understand why people are like hella pissed off where like now because this law is now in place, if you want to have
it makes it like more inconvenient.
The right security, then you need to move to a different state. And that, as complicated as that is, I mean.
But we help women move to different states all the time.
Yeah?
Yes.
I actually didn't know that about.
We help move, like, we will pay for women to go and, like, not necessarily go have abortions, but we will pay to have them go to family in different states and do all that stuff.
That's cool.
To get out of their situation. So, like, there are options. I just feel like people are utilizing such divisive language and arguments and not really I think the people in power aren't really interested in creating solutions, because to create solutions would mean that we would sit down at a table and talk, and they would have to give up some power. And I don't think the people in power, mainly the federal government or anybody in political power, are interested in doing that right now.
Yeah, and I think Dalton had a very good point where a lot of these arguments, especially on the pro-choice side, is very based off, emotion that's attached to the thing that's happening in the situation. And so, but I think we're also seeing that on both sides. And I think what's really important is that these different sides of the aisle need to get together and sit down and just have a real conversation about it. And they need to, share each one of their sides and say, okay, well, where can we meet in the middle here? Where can we compromise or not compromise? Like, where were we at on this? And I think it's ridiculous that we're kind of passing, social judgment with the different social media that's talking about this. And like, it's pushing people to one side or to the other. And it's a conversation that needs to be had, and it definitely needs to be had on the local level. And I think the best way to attack this, as far as, to get things recognized and to hear your voice being heard, is not to go into the streets and burn down, buildings or have riots or demonstrations. I think it's more important that you find out who your local representatives are and try to have a meeting with them, write them letters, write them emails, whatever you can do to talk to your local representatives, that would probably be the best way to get your voice heard, and to make some real change within your on the local level.
So, Alika, I'm curious, because you have friends who are pro-choice and everything. What are some of the things that they have said, or some of the things about this decision that they have brought up?
Well, first of all, I want to hit Dalton's comment earlier. If you could wave a magic wand, would you make it illegal for states to make their own abortion laws? Dude, don't give me a magic wand. I'm too uneducated for that. There's a lot here that I'm learning with Rianne and Jacob. There's a lot that I'm going to learn outside when I leave this podcast. Don't give me that wand, bro.
You wreak havoc on the world.
Yeah, this is a very polarizing topic for sure.
If I had a magic wand, the things I would do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to name names.
But just what are the points that they have?
Okay, so I used to sit next to this girl in one of my college classes. Really, really bright girl, super smart, really sweet. And I had no idea that entire semester that she was struggling with this guy that she was seeing at the time. It was one of those relationships that was just like, I heard about it later and I never would have thought about it, and I never picked up on any of it, and didn't really see any of the warning signs that it was a relationship that wasn't healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up learning about, when did this happen? I learned about 2 years later that this girl had, because I never talked to her again after this class, but I had learned 2 years later that she ended up having this kid. I don't know the kid, have never met the kid, don't know what he's like. But so like, she ended up having the kid, but at the time she didn't want this kid, because she was going to school, she was getting her education, she's no longer in school, she's now living with her parents again. Mm-hmm. And this guy is now in her life forever because of this kid. Mm-hmm. He consistently will use that kid to come around and be around this family. She hates it. She's miserable. And
yeah,
I get it. It's I understand that. That's a hard thing.
Yeah.
And having been a woman in a relationship that was not healthy, I'm not going to lie. I actually did access Planned Parenthood in my first marriage. Not to have an abortion, but like to do the morning after pill and everything, mm-hmm. because I was terrified of being so connected to this person and having a child with this person. Mm-hmm. So I get it. That's a hard situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, there's situations like that where it's like, well, damn, like that sucks. But also on the other hand, like, looking at it, she's going to have a whole life with this kid. I can't predict the future. I don't know what the future is going to be like for this kid and for this girl. But I mean, like, it's a slippery slope, and it's never going to be a black and white area. It's never going to be something that everyone can agree on. Like, yeah.
So I'm going to share something very, very personal. So my mom was in a situation where she was stuck with a guy that she was not super excited about. And she went to the clinic, was sitting in the parking lot. And she made the choice not to. But she was super close. Super, super close. And I'm grateful that she didn't. And, oh, shoot. I just put this out there, so hopefully this isn't...
No, it's okay. Yeah, sure. If you feel comfortable, share it. If not, I get it.
Well, there's more ramifications. Like my mom, right? Like, Anyway, now, was it hard? Yeah. Were we poor? Yeah. Were there things in my life? Did I have like a lot of things that were not good? Do I score high on the ACEs score? Yeah. But I like to think I'm actually contributing and making a difference in other people's lives with what I'm choosing to do, right? So it's just kind of like, if my mom would have made a different choice, I wouldn't exist. That's hard. Like, that like kind of blows my mind. But she was in a situation extreme. Like, I don't know my biological father. I don't even think he knows I exist. My mom says he does, but she never let him know or told him specifically. But it's very clear that I have it's very clear that I have a different father than the one I grew up with. But it was hard and everything. But I don't know, like, we butted heads. There was a situation, like, I grew up with the feeling of being unwanted a lot. She never came out and said it, but like, I could always feel it. So your friend who had the baby and had that's going to be there. That's something that her kid is going to have to figure out and deal with. But that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be here. Right? Like, that doesn't mean that that child doesn't deserve a shot at life or a chance to exist. Yes, it was hard. It's hard for her. And it probably is going to be difficult for her life. It was hard for my mom. But she did it. People do it every day. She was alone in the labor room. Like, she didn't have any family or anything in the delivery room with her when she had me. Like, I get the impact. Like, I think about this stuff and it's heavy. It's really, really heavy.
Yeah.
But I am so grateful that my mom made the choice not to go into the clinic and to do that, because I exist because of that. Now, like, do I got a lot of shit I got to work through because of it? Yeah, I do. But my life isn't over, and neither is hers. And I'm just glad that I was given a chance at life because she made the choice to let me. And it's a big decision for women. And I don't feel like it hurts my heart to see so many women advocate to be able to kill a baby. And that's hard for me. That's really hard for me, because I'm also a woman, and I also understand what it's like to be in shitty relationships and to not want to have a child, or, you know what I mean? I get the other side as well. So it's not a black and white issue, but I think the fact that there are so many people that fight to end life for so many people, like,
and where there's so many other options as well. And it's...
Yeah, I think that's what's so hard for me. I get
So I guess we could say we're pro options.
And I feel like our society needs to fight more for options as opposed to just ending it. And the culture has gotten to where they'd rather just end it. Because, like, you have experience with some of these kids. Like, did they have impact on your life? You still have contact with them, right?
Yeah, I do.
So they've impacted you on some level. Now imagine if their parents decided not to have them because it just wasn't convenient. Right? Like, that's what's hard for me, is I think we've made it too convenient, and we've allowed the culture to embrace the convenience of abortion, and it shouldn't be convenient. It should not be convenient, because it's another human. It's a life. It's something and someone who can contribute. I'm not saying that it needs to be completely outlawed, and it, like, there's so many nuances, but I think our culture and our society has made it way too convenient, and we're losing as a human race because of it. That's my thought. That was really heavy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be quiet now for a minute.
Thank you for sharing, Rianne. I know that was tough for you, girl.
Damn.
We love you.
Thanks. Sorry. Anyway.
Damn.
Somebody else talk now.
Okay. Where do we go from there?
I was gonna say I can't say anything after that.
I mean, I guess we're hour 5, so let's wrap it up. Do you have any other final thoughts, Mr. Alakai?
No, I think my biggest final thought is, I mean, I already said it before, but I mean, like, yeah, if we're going to be moving forward with this, then those kids that are going into the adoption systems, we need to do a better job at looking after them.
Yeah.
We need to do a better job of making sure that parents that go into foster care are equipped and ready.
Yeah.
And are actually going to do what they can to make sure that kid has a good life, because that kid's going to deserve it. I mean,
I think the system needs to be overhauled, because we were willing to be in the foster care system, and you know what? The only reason why we're not anymore is because of the system.
Yeah, we literally begged. We were like,
yeah, I know, and that's
what I mean.
And I agree with you. I think there needs to be.
Yeah.
But when all we're focusing on is a woman's right to kill her baby, as opposed to let's focus on the options that we can put in place and the resources that we can put in place for these women, that's where we're failing.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like those are the types of conversations we need to have, as opposed to a woman gets to choose whether she gets to carry a baby to term. Because, and the whole my body, my choice, yes, it is your body.
But once there's another life in you, it's no longer...
It's not just your body at that point. It's not
just your choice.
Right?
At that point, you're thinking of somebody else as well. Like I said, baby submarine.
Anyway.
I just think it's really interesting because historically, like all 50 states historically, like as of like 50 years ago, before this whole Roe v. Wade thing, everybody was on board with it being illegal. So it's going to be interesting to see like which states decide to make it legal, make illegal, or, you know, somewhere in between, you know, whether weeks, you know, leading up to or after or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see like what the states are going to come out with all of this. So just encourage everybody, get out and vote, talk to your representatives. Please don't educate yourself. Everything down.
Don't just go off of the talking points. Educate yourself on what is actually legal. And like an ectopic pregnancy and a DNC for a non-viable thing is not an abortion. It is a medical procedure. It's, you know what I mean? So like, don't think that you're not going to have the ability to take care of your body as a woman if you're in a dangerous situation pregnant wise. I think that's the other thing, is educate yourself on what's really available and what resources are available to you. Not just take the talking point of they don't want you. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry. I just get.
Well, anyways, everyone, thank you so much for watching today's show. Really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like us and follow us on everything. Definitely jump on the show on Spotify. We really do appreciate all the support. And from our family to yours, good night.
Good night.
Hello everyone, Jay Rhymes with the Periodic Review. Today's video is sponsored by viewers like you, so thank you. Hopefully we've earned your subscription today, so don't forget to click that subscribe button and hit that damn bell to turn on your notifications so you don't miss a content release. Check out the video links at the end of every video to view our previous content, as well as visit the description section for more links to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and from my family to yours, good night.